Have you ever had that feeling? You know the one. You're working harder than ever, you're busy all day, but at the end of it, you feel like you haven't actually moved forward at all. Like you're just trapped in this giant web of tasks and meetings and emails. Well, today, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that explains that feeling and, more importantly, shows us a way out.
So I want to start with a phrase that's been kind of rattling around in my head lately. It's an old Tamil saying, and it goes like this. Chinna nola nama surai padathavetyo. It sounds really profound, right? But what does it actually mean?
Well, it translates to this. A small thread imprisons us. Just let that sink in for a second. It's not one giant wall or some single catastrophic failure that's holding us back. No, it's the slow, steady accumulation of hundreds of tiny, almost invisible threads. You know, the small hesitations, the minor inefficiencies, those endless micro-decisions that, over time, bind us completely.
Now, this feeling of being tangled up by all these little threads, it's not just a nice metaphor. It actually describes a very real force that's at play in our work lives. And it has a name, so let's name it. Let's call it the entropy of effort.
The entropy of effort. Okay, if you remember anything from science class, entropy is just the natural tendency for any system to drift toward disorder. And in a company, or even just in your own workflow, that disorder shows up as friction. You know what I'm talking about. It's that email chain that stretches on for days when it should have been a 5-minute call. It's the decision we put off because we're waiting for just one more piece of data. It's that subtle, invisible drag on everything we're trying to do.
And this right here, this is the heart of it. Our first instinct is to think, oh, I'm just not working hard enough. But that's not it. We are working hard. The real issue isn't a lack of effort, it's a total collapse of clarity. We're running on a hamster wheel because the path forward is just a tangled mess.
And listen, this isn't just a feeling we have. This has a massive, and I mean massive, economic cost. Some research shows that this organizational drag, all those tiny threads put together, costs the global economy an absolutely astonishing $3 trillion every single year in lost productivity. That's the scale of the problem we're up against.
So let's bring that huge number down to a human level. Take software development, a field that's supposed to be all about innovation. Developers spend nearly a quarter of their time, 23%, not creating new things, but just managing technical debt. And that's the perfect example of entropy, right? Spending your best energy just to keep from sliding backwards instead of actually moving forward.
So if we're all caught in this web, how do we break free? Well, the answer lies in a pretty fundamental shift in how we think. We have to stop trying to solve this with brute force and start approaching the problem like an architect.
Here's the uncomfortable truth, okay? You cannot willpower your way out of entropy. You just can't. Simply trying harder, working longer hours, or just pushing through the pain, it's a losing strategy when you're up against a broken system. It's like trying to run faster by sinking deeper into the mud.
This really nails the two mindsets we can have. On one side, you've got the hero. The hero glorifies the grind, pushes through the pain, and is constantly fixing the same broken processes over and over again. But on the other side, you have the architect. The architect doesn't just fight the system, they redesign it. They engineer clarity to prevent the problems from ever happening in the first place.
So the goal then is to shift from being the hero to being the architect. But how? How do we actually do that? Well, like any good architect, we need a set of tools. So let's walk through the 3 foundational pillars of this new way of working.
Our roadmap is pretty clear. First, we're going to dismantle the perfectionism trap. Second, we have to repair what I call our decision operating system. And third, we need to learn to shift our mindset from one of addition to one of subtraction.
All right, let's start with perfectionism. We often wear it like a badge of honor, don't we? But really, it's often just insecurity dressed up to look like high standards. And it leads to analysis paralysis, where we wait and wait for the perfect moment to act. A moment that, let's be honest, never actually comes. So the result isn't perfection, it's mediocrity born from delay.
So here's a really practical tool to fight this. Binary decomposition. When you feel stuck, just strip the problem down to the simplest possible choice. Ask yourself this: right now, in this moment, should I move or should I pause? If the answer is move, then you identify the absolute smallest, tiniest step you can take and you do it immediately. That tiny action is all it takes to break the inertia.
Okay, next up, we gotta fix our internal decision OS. You see, decision fatigue isn't some personal weakness, it's an operational flaw. Think of it like a bandwidth leak in your brain.
Every single time you waste precious mental energy on a trivial choice, like what to title an email, you're draining the battery you need for the big strategic thinking that actually matters.
So we need to upgrade our OS. We pre-decide the small stuff with templates and protocols. For any decision that can be easily undone, we apply a 24-hour rule. Just make a call, move on, and you can always correct course later if you need to. We have to stop paying the high interest rate on the debt of indecision.
And finally, we have to cure ourselves of what you might call addition sickness. You see this everywhere in organizations. When there's a problem, our first instinct is to add something, a new rule, a new meeting, a new piece of software. But every time we do that, we're just adding another thread to the web that's trapping us.
The architect's approach is the opposite. It's subtraction. We need to start conducting friction audits, actively hunting for that bad friction, all the sludge that's slowing us down, and then ruthlessly get rid of it. The new rule has to be simple. If you add a new process, you must subtract an old one. It's about being a janitor just as much as you're an inventor.
Okay, so we've defined the problem. We've looked at the architect's toolkit. Now we get to the most important question of all. Where do we even begin? Well, the journey starts with one single action: cutting your first thread.
And let's be really clear about this. Clarity is not a gift that just falls out of the sky. It's not something you wait around for. Clarity is an engineered outcome. It is something you design, you build, and you maintain with pure intention.
You know, the ultimate goal of this whole architect mindset is something called learned resilience. This isn't about bouncing back from a problem and just getting back to where you were before. No, this is about using every single setback to build forward, to learn, to adapt, and to emerge with a higher level of capability than you had before.
So, I'll leave you with this one final thought. A challenge, really. Take a look at your own work, your team's workflow, your own hesitations. Forget about trying to solve everything all at once. Just find one thing. What is the first small thread that you are going to cut? Find it and snip it. That's how you begin.